You're here with ESPN's Bobby Marks. Bobby, thanks for taking a few minutes.
I appreciate it. How are you?
Doing well, man. Always great to be out here in Vegas, but obviously Phoenix is what we're most interested in. I want to kind of get your general thoughts on what's happened already in the offseason for the Suns.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was as expected. I think certainly the Durant trade to Houston kind of, based on what happened this past season was kind of the start of things. I like what they were able to do in the draft with Kaman Malach and Rasheer Fleming and Kobe Bray. I think three players that certainly fit needs. Jalen Green, and they got younger. I think that's the most important thing. They got younger with Jalen Green. They got a defensive wing and Dylan Brooks here. I'm interested to see kind of what's going to be next as far as with this roster. I think it's developing, but as you guys know and you follow them, what we saw last year couldn't return for next year.
The biggest thing, obviously, right now is the Bradley Beal situation kind of hanging over this team's head. What have you heard in terms of the buyout and how that might work as well?
Yeah, I mean, Beal is a little bit different than Damian Lillard, where Milwaukee basically waived Lillard without doing a buyout, and then they were able to stretch his money over 5 years. That can't happen in Phoenix just based on they already have about $3.5 million in stretched money with Nasir Little and EJ Liddell. So any type of Beal buyout would have to shave at least $14 million off. I think if you're Bradley Beal, you're looking at the market and you're saying, well, can I make that money back, even if it's going to have to be 2 years? Because remember, he's being paid for 2 years here. And I do think there's a market for him out there. I'm not a big proponent of the stretch provision because I hate dead money sitting on your cap for 5 years and $20 million. But I understand the logic of why certainly a Phoenix team that's been in the second apron, that will be in the second apron again, their pick would be frozen in not just 32, but also 33. And by stretching that money up, it just gives you a lot of different resources, different tools that you weren't able to use before, whether it be one of your exceptions to go out and sign a player, to be able to finally aggregate contracts, to be able to take back more money in a deal. And I think as the cap grows, that $20 or $21 million that maybe looks a little bit ominous right now starts to become a little bit lesser.
You look at Devin Booker's extension that he signed last night. When you look at that right now, it looks like a huge number. But again, as you look at the cap expanding stuff, what was your read on it?
Yeah, I kind of knew that was coming. I think when we look at it, certainly with Devin, even if with 3 years left on his original deal, Supermax, certainly with Matt Ishbia coming out and saying like we're going to build around him, it just makes more sense as far as the lock up. I think that 75 in that last year probably pops out and be like, oh, but that 75 in 5 years might be like 50 right now, and that's kind of how we have to look at money moving forward.
Well, really appreciate it, and thanks for being on, Bobby.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.